If we're talking about the endocrine disorders, we know that thyroid disorder is one of the most common diseases. In fact, all of you will agree with me that if any infertility patient comes and when we are doing the initial workup, we are very happy if you find a thyroid abnormality, because at least we know that there is some problem and that is being found out and we can offer some treatment. So that is the beauty of this simple thyroid problem, which is a common endocrine disorder. But when you look at it, we find that it is one of the problems sometimes which can get overlooked if you don't give it the importance it needs. So overt hypothyroidism is occurring in about 0.3 to 0.5% of all pregnancies. Subclinical hypothyroidism is occurring in about 2 to 3% of all pregnancies. And hypothyroidism also occurs, though to a lesser magnitude, of 0.1 to 0.4% of pregnancies. And postpartum thyroiditis also is there in almost 10% of the women. That is the reason why we need to talk about the thyroid problems. We have to understand the physiological changes of thyroid in the pregnancy and how the hypothyroidism is actually getting reflected in the pregnancy, be it the epidemiology, where you need to look at the etiology and the impact of this problem on the mother and fetus, and how we are going to manage them. We do understand that subclinical hypothyroidism is also there, which we need to actually look and treat. And we have a lot of dilemmas. Do we need to do routine screening? Do we need to do targeted screening? And what are the guidelines? What are the guidelines? What are the international guidelines? Are our Indian guidelines? What does Foxy say? And what is it as an obstetrician I am supposed to do? So basically, when you look the thyroid hormones, the T4 and T3, the chemistry of T3 and T4 formation, we know that the tyrosine is the most important. In the presence of the iodinase, we've got a monoiodotyrosine, diiodotyrosine, which become 3 triiodothyronine, and then the thyroxine. So this synthesizing by attaching an iodine to the amino acid tyrosine, it's a very simple thing. And the thyroxine T4 is containing the 4 iodine atoms, while T3 we know contains the 3 iodine atoms. Now the thyroxine T4 and triiodothyronine are secreted by the follicular epithelial cells of the thyroid. I used to wonder why we have to read uh, all the biochemical structures, iodine here, iodine there in the biochemistry. Now I understand as an obstetrician, we need to understand that to understand how it affects our patients. So we look at the transport of thyroid hormones to the tissues. When you look at the role of serum binding protein, T3 and T4 are actually bound to plasma proteins. The thyroxine binding globulin, TBG, which is carrying the 80% of bound hormones, the transthyretin, which is actually carrying about 10% of the T4, and albumin is carrying 10% of T4 and 30% of T3. Now, the plasma proteins modulate the hormone delivery to selected tissue sites. Thyroid hormones enter the cells by passive diffusion and also by this MCT8 transporter, which is the monocarboxylate transporter. And what is happening in the cells, this thyroid hormone is acting primarily through the nuclear receptors. Now, when we look at the pregnancy related factors which are affecting the thyroid, we have to understand HCG is something very important in pregnancy, and that has a resemblance to TSH. Estrogen, what is the effect? There's an increase in serum TBG. It affects the synthesis, at the same time, the clearance. And the immunological factors. We know pregnancy is an immunocompromised status, and there is immunosuppression in the mother. The placental factors, we know the HCG, the estrogen, the progesterone, all these dehydrogens, these are all the factors which are affecting the thyroid hormone. So, when you look at the factors affecting thyroid physiology during the normal pregnancy, what are the physiological changes and what are the thyroid related consequences? There's an increased renal iodine clearance. So, there's an increased 24-hour RAIO of the, which is a significant effect of the physiological change. There's a decreased plasma iodine and placental iodine transport to the fetus. So what happens in iodine deficient women, decreased T4 and increased TSH and then goiter formation. That's what happens. Now there's an increased oxygen consumption by the fetoplacental unit, the gravid uterus and the mother. So there's an increased BMR. And then the first trimester, that we all know that the HCG is increased, and that will bring about an increased free T4 and T3. It will decrease the basal TSH because there's a partial blunting of the pituitary thyroid axis. And then increase increase in the serum TBZ will bring about an increase in total T4 and T3. The increase in the plasma volume will increase the T4 and T3 pool size. Inner ring deiodination of T4 and T3 by accelerated rates of the T4 and T3 degradation and production. Now, when we look at the transplacental transport of thyroid hormone, the placental transthyretin actually plays a very crucial role in the transplacental transport of the thyroid hormone. Placental transports small amount of T3 and T4. Transplacental transport of the T4 is regulated by the placental deiodinase type 3, and fetus is actually depending on the placental deiodinase type 2 for conversion of T3 from T4. And placenta is playing a very important role in iodine transport to the fetus. So, all these factors are what is affecting the thyroid. So, let's look at the thyroid physiology in pregnancy. So, there's an increased estrogen in pregnancy that will bring 2 to 3 fold increase in the TBZ, and then that will decrease the free T3 and T4. So you can see in the graph where there's a decrease in the free T3 and T4. And similar structure of HCG and TSH that will make the HCG stimulate release of T3 and T4. And that will cause a transient TSH decrease from the 8th week to 14th week. So when we measure TSH at this time, so we can get a false normal TSH. This is something which we have to keep in mind. That is the reason why we need to understand the physiology. So you see the graph, then you will be able to understand. So the increased peripheral metabolism of T4 and T3 will bring about decrease in the free T3 and T4. So that's how you understand the physiology of all this free T3 and free T4. Now, the referral values for the thyroid function test. We do understand there's a lack of consensus on the reference range of this thyroid function test during the pregnancy, and the trimester specific interpretation is preferred. What happens is usually we find the endocrine society, the endocrinologist says something, the gynecologist tells something, and physicians say something. So what happens is always a lot of chaos and confusion. So we need to have specific guidelines so that we know what it is. If we can understand the trimester specific interpretation, what is preferred. When you look at discharge, the referred values for the TFT in pregnancy in the women in general, if you take thyroid hormone, the free T3, look at the normal values. So trimester, in the first trimester is 3.5, second trimester 3.4 to 5.7. So this is the, and third trimester accordingly. TSH, normal value is 0.35 to 4.94. But in pregnancy, are we going to take this? So again, trimester specific 1, 2, and 3, 0.09 to 2.8, 0.2 to 2.8, and third trimester 0.3 to 2.9. So this will give us so when we look at the Indian data, the selected trimester specific method specific free T4 and free T3, these TSH variants. So every country actually is ideal to have the mean data of that particular population, and that will give us a clear idea of management. So the existing results for trimester specific reference intervals for thyroid hormones are actually inconsistent, and they cannot be extrapolated because of the difference in the ethnicity, the maternal iodine status, the laboratory assay methods, and the rigor for selection of reference population. That is a reason why establishment of the reference intervals in each region is of great importance. So when you look at T4 estimation in pregnancy, the free T4 versus the total T4, TT4. Following conception, the thyroid binding globulin and the TT4 concentration increases by the week of 7th week of gestation, and it reaches a peak by approximately 16 weeks. Around 50% increase above pre-pregnancy level is seen at the 16th week. This level is sustained throughout the pregnancy. So up to 7 week, use a pre-pregnancy range. Recommended 7 to 16, increase the upper reference range by 5% per week from the 7th week onwards. And 16th week onwards, you increase the upper reference range by 50%. Now just let's look at a simple case. We get a 28-year-old lady with a history of primary hypothyroidism presented with amenorrhea at 6 weeks. Now, she gives us past history of diagnosis with hypothyroidism 6 years back. She was started on levothyroxine. She has been taking a stable dose of L-thyroxine, 75 micrograms per day, for the past 2 years. So, on examination, we have found a diffuse, non-tender enlargement of the thyroid gland. Then we look at the lab investigation. TSH was 10.7, FT3 was 5 picomoles, and FT4 was 12. The urine pregnancy test obviously was positive, and diagnosis was 6 weeks pregnancy with primary. Now, what is our next step in the management of this patient? Do we maintain the same dose? Do we increase the dose? Or do we stop the L-thyroxine? So, this patient, we know that we have to increase, and it was increased to 100 micrograms. That is, there was a 30% increment in the supplementation of thyroxine. Then, after 4 weeks, when thyroid test was done, the TSH was 2.4, and FT3 was 5, and FT4 was 16. So, treatment was L-thyroxine was maintained for 100 micrograms. So, looking at it, we know that we need to estimate the TSH. We need to do the test every 4 to 6 weeks. And periodic TSH levels are very important, 6 to 8 weekly, for us to maintain the patient in a euthyroid levels. So, let's look at the epidemiology of the hypothyroidism in pregnancy. The most common thyroid disorder in pregnancy is maternal hypothyroidism. In the Western countries, overt hypothyroidism occurs in 0.3 to 0.5% of pregnancies. Subclinical hypothyroidism occurs in 2 to 3% of pregnancies. There was a study which was conducted in Mumbai for the Asian Indian population, and they found hypothyroidism in pregnancy was 4.8%. Sahu et al. In 2009, subclinical hypothyroidism was all as high as 6.47. Overt hypothyroidism was 4.5%. And progression from the subclinical hypothyroidism to overt hypothyroidism was seen in 3 to 29% of women with autoimmunity. There was a lot of debate in the WHO saying that we don't need to do thyroid levels, and so it is not a guideline to do it, because they said that when you look at the large population and incidence, we don't need to make it mandatory. But of late, we have been definitely finding that if we don't take that general guideline, we find that in our Indian population, definitely looking into hypothyroidism will definitely go a long way. So when you look at the prevalence of this hypothyroidism in a pregnancy, there was an epidemiological study from 11 cities in 9 states of India. This was done by this Dinesh Kumar Banwal and so many people, and Usha Sriram, etc. And they found that in the study, 13.1% of pregnant women had hypothyroidism, using a cutoff of TSH level of 4.5. This prevalence would have been much higher using the American Thyroid Association criteria. Anti-TPO antibodies were positive in 20.7%, whereas 40% of hypothyroid pregnant women were positive for the anti-TPO antibodies. So when you look at the types of hypothyroidism pregnancy, overt hypothyroidism, subclinical hypothyroidism. The overt, there is an elevated serum TSH and abnormal FT4, symptomatic thyroid hormone deficiency. But in subclinical, what is happening? Elevated serum TSH and normal FT4 and biochemical thyroid hormone deficiency. So the maternal hypothyroidism, what is the etiology? Why does this happen? Probably inadequate treatment of women with a pre-existing hypothyroidism, or over treatment of a hypothyroid women with antithyroid medication. And in iodine in insufficient areas, the most common cause is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disorder. Now, treatment of hypothyroidism using some radioactive ablation, thyroid surgery, secondary hypothyroidism of pituitary organism, tertiary hypothyroidism of hypothalamic, or Sheehan syndrome also. Now, when you look at the impact on the mother and the fetus of hypothyroidism, it can augment the anemia, congestive heart failure, antepartum depression, eclampsia, preeclampsia, gestational hypertension, placental abruption, increased chance of cesarean, postpartum depression, postpartum hypertension, lactation problem, miscarriages. So many obstetric conditions are actually associated with the hypothyroidism pregnancy, and fetal growth restriction, increased perinatal mortality, impaired neuropsychointellectual development, and the intrauterine. So the prevalence of subclinical hypothyroidism has been found to vary from 2 to 8%, and it's almost always asymptomatic. Higher anti-TPO antibody positivity associated with adverse maternal and fetal outcome. We know that thyroid treatment definitely improves the outcome. Now, what are the concerns related to hypothyroidism pregnancy? Why do we need to monitor? 10% of pregnant women have a TPO antibodies and are susceptible to Subclinical hypothyroidism and thyroid dysfunction postpartum. Postpartum thyroid dysfunction occurs in 5 to 9% of women and 25 to 30% remain hypothyroid. Women who are on L-thyroxine at conception require an increase of the dose during pregnancy. Remember this. And untreated maternal hypothyroidism may have an adverse impact on the child's subsequent neuropsychological performance, and development of fetal brain is dependent on T4 transportation. That is the importance of actually monitoring and trying to supplement. So coming to the management, which is very simple, when you look at the Indian guidelines, hypothyroidism diagnosed during pregnancy, adjustment of the thyroxine dosage, maintaining levels at or below 2.5 to TSH, increment in thyroid dosage by 30 to 50% by 4 to 6 weeks of gestation, overt hypothyroidism diagnosed during pregnancy, titrating the T4 dosage to maintaining TSH concentration less than 2.5 in first trimester or less than 3 in the second, third trimester. Based on the trimester, reassessment of thyroid function 30 to 40 days. Euthyroid women with thyroid antibodies in early stage of pregnancy, you monitor TSH, and subclinical hypothyroid in pregnancy, please give T4 replacement. Now look at the American Thyroid Association ATA guideline 2017 for diagnosing and management of thyroid disease during pregnancy and postpartum. It's a pregnancy specific TSH reference range should be defined. When available, population and trimester specific ranges are very important for us to actually go about the management, and reference range should be defined in healthy TPOAB negative pregnant women with optimal iodine intake and without thyroid illness. When this is not feasible, what do you do? Pregnancy specific TSH reference range obtained from similar patient population and performed using similar TSH assays should be substituted. We didn't have those population specific TSH range. So we may have to borrow some of the reference ranges. So internal or transferable pregnancy specific TSH reference ranges are unavailable. Upper reference limit of 4 microunits may be used. For most assays, this represents a reduction in the non-pregnant TSH upper reference limit. Now, subclinical hypothyroidism in pregnancy should be approached by levothyroxine therapy recommended for the TPO antibody positive women with the TSH greater than pregnancy specific range, and TPO antibody negative women with the TSH greater than 10. This L-thyroxine may be considered for TPO antibody positive women with TSH concentration more than 2.5 and below the upper limit of the pregnancy specific reference range. The TPO antibody negative women with TSH concentration greater than the pregnancy specific reference range. That is why when you have a confusion, please do this TPO antibodies, which are very, very vital. And levothyroxine therapy is not recommended for TPO antibody negative women with a normal TSH. So TSH is within the pregnancy specific range. So this is a chart where there's a high risk group. If we have TSH 0.1 to 2.5, no further workup. If it is 2.5 to 10, do a TPO antibodies. If it's positive, then TSH 2.5 upper limit. Consider L-thyroxine therapy. If it again, if TSH upper limit less up to 10, then go ahead and give the therapy. If it is TPO-AB negative, if it is 2.5 TSH, no need for treatment. But even in negative, if TSH is very high, 10, then we have to consider the thyroxine therapy. And if it's TSH more than 10, go ahead and give the treatment. So simply remember, this is very easy to manage the patients. So target the TSH in hypothyroid pregnant women to the lower half of the trimester specific reference range. And when that is not available, reasonable to target it below 2.5 TSH. So dose of L-thyroxine again in the postpartum. If the woman was receiving L-thyroxine before pregnancy and dose was increased during pregnancy, reduce the L-thyroxine dose to pre-pregnancy levels and assess the serum TSH after 6 weeks and adjust the dose if required. Some patients may require a higher dose than the pre-pregnancy dose. If L-thyroxine was initiated during pregnancy, some women may not require L-thyroxine postpartum. If L-thyroxine is discontinued, please assess the TSH after 6 weeks. So this patient, thyroid function test at 28 weeks, the TSH was 2.4, an ultrasound normal, and she had a normal delivery. Again, follow up postpartum. Hypothyroidism pregnancy is very common. Physiological change, iodine deficiency, autoimmune, on all the problems. It affects adversely maternal fetal outcome. Early detection is very important. Universal screening may be indicated to prevent the complication of both the mother and fetus. So, friends, Don't take it easy. Thyroid is one of the simple problems which we can treat with a small tablet, and it is there in pregnancy. Please realize the importance of this. It's simple to find out, simple to treat. So, screening for thyroid disorders in pregnancy is of utmost importance. Targeted versus universal screening. Very slowly, and very soon, we're going to move to the universal screening.